What's up, you guys? I didn't think I was going to post about Dr. King Day today because honestly, I get sad on this day every year. It feels heartbreaking, if I could just be honest for a second. And I usually sit with a lot of grief on this day. And to give you a little bit of context, you guys know I am an avid, obsessed Memphian. And kind of beyond that, I'm a Black Southerner. I'm a Black Southern woman who cares about justice, whose life is committed to justice and to human dignity and seeing our systems transform so that not only do each of you and all of us know our worthiness and dignity intrinsically, but our systems reify that. Our systems are aligned to that because at the moment, they're not. And to be honest with you, throughout history, they've never been. And that has to change. I know this. So many other people know this. I'm sure most of you know this. And of course, Dr. King knew this. Well, a lot of his work is really radical and talks about anti-poverty, anti-racist, anti-war, anti-climate destruction practices that require people with a lot of power to give that up, and that require us to have new rules, us to have new expectations, new dreams for not just ourselves, but for our collective good. And again, that requires revolution. And I don't necessarily mean bloody revolution. I actually don't mean that at all. But it requires a serious transfer of power. And people who have power, people who have decision-making power, economic power, cultural power, don't like giving that up. And I think it's for really primitive and instinctual reasons. And that has to change. It as much as people want to hold on to the way things have been or like to celebrate kind of like the small progress or, innovations that we've made, people don't want to recognize the cost. But when you live in Memphis, when you're a Black Memphian, when you live in the place where one of the heralded leaders for nonviolence and peace and human dignity was assassinated, you can't deny it. And I mean, I never wanted to deny it, but I just am starkly reminded and have been since my birth that the sacrifice required to do what Dr. King wanted, the sacrifice for all of us, the personal sacrifice he paid is really heavy. It's got a gravity to it that is never talked about on days that remember him, on conversations that talk about his work. And so honestly, especially as, again, a Southern woman who was educated in the South, our school system's been over backwards to miseducate people and new generations of students as to what Dr. King stood for. And if you need a contemporary example of this, just look at all of the legislators and decision makers and suburban house moms like trying to make critical race theory illegal to teach in schools. Like, y'all, come on. Like, these saying, like, you can't be someone who says you can't teach critical race theory, but also post a Dr. King quote and say Dr. King would never stand for this, when that's everything Dr. King was standing for and standing on. And so, I mean, from the school systems to a lot of the celebrations to people, kind of dissecting and picking and choosing really convenient or softer parts of Dr. King's message and whitewashing what he did to say that he prefers peace over disruption or prefers a status quo over a new future that centers dignity for all. It just not only botches his work, but it perpetuates injustice. Like, the mind is the first place that people accept freedom and hope for a better future. And when you twist Dr. King's words and you twist the work he did at the very fundamental level, you are reversing progress. You are inhibiting progress. So, yeah, I didn't think I would post today about it. I did post, and I'll share that here. And I posted last year too, and I'll share that to give more of my thoughts. But I just want to say, if this isn't your experience, like for some of us, this day is really heavy. Like even just as a small note, like my grandpa was marching with Dr. King, the last march Dr. King ever did, and got maced trying to protect Dr. King from the police, and that mace stung like pins and needles for a week. And my grandpa, like for my grandpa, like this is really personal. And if this day feels heavy for you, that's okay. And if this day doesn't feel heavy for you and doesn't feel like an added call to action, I'd ask you to do a different kind of reflection. And I'm not saying that we can't celebrate the progress and can't celebrate how monumental his work and all of the work of the people around him has been. But I just encourage people to take a deeper look and let this day be one that truly matters to how you spend your life and your time.